So the biggest curse of selling B2B is that sometimes selling processes and selling cycles get extremely long. We like the fact that we're selling high ticket, but we don't like the fact that it is actually taking us too much time to sell that particular service or the software. So what we're doing to solve this exact problem is optimizing our sales cycles by leveraging a few pre-call and post-call flows that we can integrate into our sales process and get the payment notification as soon as possible so that we can reinvest that capital back into marketing and sales in order to grow our business even more. So in this video, what I'm going to be explaining to you is the approach we are integrating into our own business and our clients' businesses in order to shorten the sales cycles and get access to the cash, to the service fee as soon as possible. And if this is your first time seeing me in your screen, my name is Batu. I'm the co-founder of Advergent. Advergent is a SaaS-centric marketing and sales growth firm that is helping B2B SaaS businesses charge high ticket, improve their LTV, improve their profitability, and shorten their sales cycles so that they can unlock speedy growth for their businesses. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first thing we're going to be talking about in this video is this trust risk pendulum. Jeremy Haynes already talks about this, and I got the inspiration from him because it makes sense with our situation as well. So the premise of this pendulum is that there's a line, as you can see over here, and there is this sold section, scam section, and swing of decision section. So your leads and prospects are actually break into three different categories, which are sold. And the way you can define these guys is that when they see your solution for the first time and they think, oh my God, this is amazing, I have to jump into this. In the marketing adoption curve, this is usually the early adopters or innovators at the same time. And then there is the second group, which is the swing of decision. These people do not have a certain opinion about you or your services, and every asset that they see about you on the internet, for example, you're watching me, you might be a potential client to me, and the information that you are going to be gathering in this video is going to determine that either you believe this is a scam or you're going to be sold and book a call with me to buy my services. So this is what defines the swing of decision category. And then there's also scam category, which you already know this, the people who think you are a scammer, your solution doesn't work, or they don't trust you personally, so they will be never buying from you. But the thing is, these sold people are always going to stay in the sold area, and these scam people are always going to stay in the scam area unless something drastic or significant happens. But it is not the same for the swing of decision, because these people, with every single signal that you are sending their way, their opinion changes a little. Sometimes they get closer to the sold section, sometimes they get closer to the scam section, and every review of everything they consume about you determines whether or not they are going to be coming to the sold or scam category. And it is not 100% for sure that they are going to end up in either sold or scam. They might be in the swing of decision for the eternity, and they may never buy from you, but nor hate you as well. So the premise of this pendulum is that your prospects are swinging in this pendulum to finally have a judgment on your business. And in this case, the reason I'm recording this video is to get you, if you're in the swing of decision phase and category among my ideal client personas, my goal is to get you closer to the sold section so that you can actually eventually buy from you. And it is the same for your business as well. At the end of the day, we want the direction of these people to be towards left side of things, to become the members of sold category so that we can partner up with them and help their business grow, and at the same time we can earn money from it. You might be thinking like, okay, Batu, I understand, but why these sales cycles have to be too long? Like this decision, why the swing of decision is actually taking too long for me to get my prospects to reach the sold level and eventually buy from me? So the reason for that is because there are different segments of businesses in the world. There are three segments of businesses. One of them are enterprise businesses, the other one is mid-market businesses, and the final one is the SMB, small to mid-sized businesses. So the longest sales cycle you are going to be experiencing when you are selling services or software or anything high ticket to a business is when you are selling to enterprise buyers, because these enterprise companies, they move slow. There are a lot of decision makers involved in. They are selective with their investment because they hardly pivot from their strategy. Imagine these businesses like giants that are moving slow. They cannot move slow. They cannot run fast. But when they make a movement, it's impactful. So enterprise buyers are exactly like that. And as a result, when they actually give you a hand or get a help from you, your reward actually increases and is much higher than the mid-market buyers or small to mid-sized business buyers, right? And then the second longest sales cycles belong to mid-market buyers over here. So these guys are faster than enterprise, but slower than SMB businesses, fair amount of decision makers involved in, and they are selective with their investment, but they are more dynamic in comparison to the enterprise companies. These are still giant companies, but they make decisions faster than enterprise and slower than small to mid-sized businesses. And finally, the shortest sales cycles you're going to be having is when you are selling to SMB buyers. They have the fastest decision making. Majority of the times, they're only 1 to 2 decision makers involved in, and they are selective with their investment because their capital is not as high as the mid-market buyers or enterprise buyers, but they pivot often because they would like to unlock the next growth stage as soon as possible. So they are mindful with their investment, but if something doesn't really make sense, they ditch it fast and then pivot their strategy to something else. So we already covered the buying behavior of all of these company types and business types. But the thing is, it is not only limited to how fast they make decisions or how slow they make decisions, but there are outside factors that are coming in when you are trying to convince these people to buy your services or your software. And the way we are explaining this is by building this diagram over here. So the first one represents your sales process with them, and then the second one represents your competitor sales process with them, because if they're actively talking to you about a solution, 99% of the time they're going to be talking to other vendors or other solutions as well. And the third is X-team sales process, and what this means is that your solution might be marketing related, but they might be also looking for a solution that is product related as well. So it doesn't have to be in the exact same niche as you, but they might be in the behavior of making a decision for a solution on the product side of things too. So that also impacts your sales cycles when it comes to selling your services to these kind of buyers. And because they are exploring and discovering new solutions and different solutions to several different factors in their businesses, they are actually not finalizing the buying behavior because they want to make sure that they pick the best option possible. So you go from first call to the second call, and then a third call, and then a fourth call, etc. And between each call, you have 10 to 14 days of breaks that you let your clients, that your ideal clients, stay idle between the calls. So when you're taking the first call with them and then you schedule a second call for like 10 to 14 days later, which you should be doing this inside the call, by the way. Never let them pick the second call's time over an email or text message. By the end of every call, definitely lock in the date and the time of the next call if you haven't closed them. Anyway, I don't want to digress too much. So after you take the first call and then you schedule the second call, you are remaining silent between these calls. And you cannot expect someone to remember you unless you are making some kind of a noise or you are holding a narrative of that sales process, because these people are busy. It is not only you that exists in their world. They have personal lives, they have professional lives, they are probably waiting for promotion or they're worried about their job, etc., etc. All of these factors come in your way, plus your competitors, plus the other solutions that they're looking for, the other departments, and so on and so forth. And as we already mentioned, a lot of other people and vendors are trying to convince your solution/model to your prospects, which causes the switch of exposure. You can also call this narrative control as well. And every time you stay silent between the calls, do not provide enough assets or do not do content propaganda or do not appear on their socials, etc., you are actually handing over your narrative to someone else, to some other vendor or other solutions and problems. Every time you do this, your narrative is actually getting controlled by other teams over here and over here, which you could actually fill this out, this silence, and shut them off so their attention goes back to you. So every time another gap gets in the way, switch of exposure happens and the context window gets complicated because they see a lot of noise from your competitors, from other vendors, their internal processes, etc., etc., and decision making gets tougher each time you do not control the narrative for them. Okay, but how are we gonna actually solve this narrative, the switch of exposure problem, right? So there are 4 levers to solve this switch of exposure. One of them is the sales process. The second one is email and content nurturing. Third one is a social media presence. And the fourth one is sales assets. So let's start with the lever number 1, which is the sales process. So how can you actually optimize your sales process that is going to result in the highest close rate possible for your business? So there are 2 different main models. One of them is one call close, and then the other one is the multi-call close model. So the one call close model is actually suitable for smaller deal sizes, selling to SMBs. It is best fit for packages between 2K and 5K size, and rarely there is a second call, which the typical strategy inside the sales call is outlining the problem, showcasing the solution, backing yourself up with proof, handling objections, proving supremacy, injecting urgency, and then closing the deal. And every single component that I have outlined over here is doable over a one call close. But if you are selling a higher ticket deal size than 2K to 5K, the scenario changes entirely. So in that case, the multi-call close model comes in, which is for bigger deal sizes. It is usually selling to mid-market or enterprise businesses. It is the best fit for packages 5K plus size. And usually the closing happens based on relationship building. And what I mean by this is not becoming friends of theirs, etc., etc. It is something much more different than that. The typical strategy that you follow in these sales calls is closely listening and qualifying them, building relationship around the current bottleneck and giving hints on how you solve them during the discovery phases, aligning with each decision maker and stakeholder on the North Star that they have for their business, which is only possible to figure out by building that relationship during the discovery period. And you should also be mapping the decision-making process internally in their business so that you can curate your approach based on that. And then the process goes outlining the problem, showcasing the solution, backing it up with proof, handling objections, or you can pre-handle them during the discovery and the alignment phases as well, proving supremacy, injecting urgency, and then closing the deal eventually. And by actually implementing this exact multi-call close model, we increased our client close rate from 12% to 35% because we structured their sales process so good that it naturally had a positive impact on the close rate. And when we were at like 12% close rate, I was like, let me review your sales calls. I go into his Fireflies, I listen to every single sales call that he has had that he couldn't close, plus he actually closed. And I realized this pattern that he doesn't have a structure in the call. You shouldn't be having some bullshit principles in the sales call, obviously, such as like, oh, I need to ask this question first, I need to discover where you're at, etc., etc. It is not like that, but you need to have a structure that is dynamic, that switches based on several different scenarios that could happen in the sales call. So we actually sit down together, I explain him, hey, you don't have a structure, we need to actually have a clear structure, dynamically changing based on the situation inside the sales call. And he's like, okay, you're right, we must do it. We sit down, we strategize everything, we restructure his pitch deck, and then he goes from 12% to 35%. So the second lever is email and content nurturing system. And the purpose of this lever is to do propaganda during the pre-call and post-call timelines so that we can nurture and get those decision makers ready to buy our services or our software or whatever other solution we are providing to our clients. So the typical strategy of pre-call propaganda is familiarizing them with your solution, reducing the knowledge gap that they have about your solution and their own problem, and then doing a soft pre-sale with mechanism and case studies and preventing wasting time educating prospects in the calls so that you can actually do the selling, do your discovery, etc., etc. And then the typical strategy of the post-call propaganda is to controlling the solution exposure against competitors, staying top of mind, and further nurturing and objection handling with sales sales assets that you can provide along the way until they make a decision about your solution. And then the third lever is social media presence. And the purpose of this lever is to build authority and thought leadership in our prospects' eyes. And there are usually 4 content types that we leverage, which are educational content, actionable content, and authority and social proof content following a thought leadership content. All of these benefit you in different ways. For example, if they have a knowledge gap in the market or about your solution, the educational content plays in. If you need to inject some kind of a trust that your solution is going to work, you can do actionable content to believe that your solution could work, to get them to apply a specific thing and believe that your solution could actually work. And then authority and social proof content that you're not full of shit and you can actually deliver results for your clients. And then also thought leadership content, which positions you as the authority and the leader of this market and this industry, and working with you is actually going to give them a competitive advantage. And the best platforms to leverage these are on LinkedIn. This is 100% the best one. The second one is the Instagram. X is really good for B2B selling as well. YouTube, as you can see, you're watching me on YouTube. YouTube is a great way to demonstrate authority, give actionable content just like in this video, and then also inject some thought leadership perception in your prospect's eyes. And then you can also leverage Reddit, which is optional, but it's a blue ocean that you can actually conquer. And in a few years, you're going to be seeing a lot of good results coming from Reddit only without needing any of these other platforms that you are currently making content for. And then the fourth lever is providing sales assets. And the purpose of this lever is basically giving them a research due diligence so that they can actually come to a conclusion about you and become sold in that trust risk pendulum. And the typical sales assets that we leverage to make that movement towards sold happen is white papers, keynotes, post webinars, industry data and trends, especially if you're in analytics industry or marketing industry, YouTube videos, lead magnet resources, and fractional software appearances, demos, and free tools that you can provide if you are selling software to your clients. And there are actually 3 levers that connect to each other in a flow that we highly recommend businesses integrate into their business, which are lever 4, sales assets, lever 2, email and content nurturing system, and then lever 1, which is the sales process optimization, is pre and post call assets such as email sequences, ghost follow-up systems, which our clients actually benefit from this a lot, and 30-day follow-up systems, and also long-term infinity farming systems that we can utilize to leverage our post-call propaganda strategy, multi-call close models, and then also we can leverage it for our sales asset types that we can send out and give more insights, control a better narrative than our competitors to do the selling at the end of the day to our ideal customer personas. And by the way, this is the exact system that we implement for our B2B SaaS clients, and at the same time we are expanding into other B2B verticals to install this system into their business and shorten their sales cycles, improve their lead quality rate and close rate as well. So if there's any interest of you that might want to implement this exact system to shorten your sales cycles, there is a form in the description that you can fill out to apply to work with us. After filling out the form, you will have the option to book a call with me personally and talk to me, and in the call I'll be auditing your entire demand generation, lead generation and sales process, and I'll be giving you my honest opinion and whether or not I can help you or not with my team. And if it makes sense, we will start implementing the system so that you can close more deals in 2026 and beyond. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, make sure to press the like button. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section and I will try to make a separate video for those questions. And for me to stay top of your mind, make sure to click on the subscribe button so that you can watch whenever there is a new video from me for you to learn a little bit more about advertising and selling to B2B verticals. Thanks for watching the video and I'll see you in the next one.